do events conspiring against you mean you are ripe for the test, when events seem to be conspiring against you, but they are actually breaking down old patterns? Does this usually mean when people are ready for the test, example, synchronistic events, astrology, letting life flow, high level of coherence / breaking through, flow, and not to get stressed?
One issue I see here in this question is that you again base your understanding of reality on these theories of reality. You kind of always want to see the reality in a very fragmented way. So, for example, synchronistic events, astrology, these are just different sort of points of life that you come across, and they appear to be as different as sort of separate elements within your flow. And the delusion, deception, and the ignorance arise from the fact that you divide the life flow into different aspects. The more you divide, the more you see difference and sort of opposing forces between all of this. Although all of these could be just one and the same flow. So if you perceived yourself, life, as the flow, as you are that flow of life, and whatever is happening is the emanation of you, for the sake of you to experience something and to understand something about you, you would not see all these points as separate elements of yourself. Higher level, lower level, again, division. Southeast, northwest, astrology, 9 planets. You see, all these are concepts. Oh, chakras, 7, 12, 9, 21. You know, these are all manipulation through ignorance. So what if there was nothing? As I told you and others, what if you are a particle and you perceive reality without any of your current senses? What would the reality be? Is there astrology for you as a particle? Does astrology as science or exist for the particle? Is it relevant even? These are all man-made sciences which try to explain reality to a corrupt human being. How does this usually happen, or do people usually get ready for the test, or is it a test? There is no test. It's like, for example, the fire is burning. What's the test? The water is flowing. What's the test? Now, if a human consciousness looks at this phenomena, the fire is burning, the water's flowing, it says, oh, the water is like time. It's always flowing. It's never the same. Oh, the fire is burning like our life. You see, our mind is able to make comparisons and to draw conclusions. This is called logical, philosophical, intellectual mind, right? But before that, consciousness, that before that human consciousness even peered into that phenomena, what was going on? It still existed on its own in its natural form without absolutely any meaning that human beings bring to it. Now, human beings observe different planetary movements and assume, because they see what's happening with them during certain planetary movements, and they assume and they write it down and they create a science. Right? We also observe that when we speak, there is some kind of a impact of that vibration that we create. But what is this vibration? I was just talking to someone yesterday, to someone who had a session with me. And I said, what's the difference between you and the table, for example? The table that you create, or the music piece that you create. That is your extension. This is like an extension of you. Because even if you look at the table and you say it's a non-living being, right? But is it? Because your consciousness, I will use the word copulated, because it's kind of a process, because your consciousness copulated with this table. It created, first it originated where? In the consciousness. And then you did something. When you did something, what did you do? You employed your senses to create this table. And you governed this creation or creative process or creation through your mind, right? So you were molding this table, putting the screws where your full attention was. So you empowered this table, and this table vibrates you, right? This music vibrates you. Mozart's music, Beethoven's music, it vibrates their personality, their emotional state, even after hundreds of years. Because that's a piece of their consciousness that has been recorded. Now, when you use some pieces of furniture, even you haven't created them, you touch them, you give them a meaning within your consciousness, so they become a part of your existence, right? So are they really non-living being? They are an extension of you. Now, we don't perceive the world like this, do we? We don't say that. We don't understand transmission. Transmission is not only spiritual transmission, it's everywhere. Wherever you go, whatever you touch, whatever you accentuate within your consciousness is empowered or disempowered or acknowledged by your consciousness and is a transmission of you onto that object, subject, whatever that is. So if you create in your mind, let's say you're a monk and you feel longing for a woman, you create a goddess within your mind. You empower it, right? Now, what is it really? Is a psychological way, is a conscious way to connect with that which you deny. Because after all, no matter how it appears to a human eye, to a human mind, to a limited mind, the nature will always try to balance itself and build itself, bring itself to the, what is that? Equilibrium. It will try to bring it to wholesomeness or wholesome state sooner or later. That's why everything is naturally balanced. The nature itself is a flow of opposite forces which are balancing each other. Now, we are not living in this flow of naturally balancing forces. We fell out of the stream. That's why we're constantly searching and trying to explain the reality. We created philosophy, astrology. We do not want to face difficulties because we don't want to face the fact that we create these difficulties. Something happened in our life and we created a sense of victimized being from ourselves or out of ourselves. Somebody hurt us, somebody bullied us. Wow, what a big deal. Now, does it mean that it defines me? No, because we decided that the extension of me defines me. Because the society didn't teach you from the beginning that it doesn't. It didn't give you this wholesome idea and the way to perceive yourself in a complete way. That's why you started fragmenting yourself more and more and losing yourself through this psychological, spiritual, emotional fragmentation. That's what's happening. And so you start creating superstition, observing something. Yes, superstition is relevant to the point when you observe the sky. Let's say you see the birds are flying low. Okay, probably because they're flying low, it's going to rain. Because for thousands of years, people have been observing this phenomenon. But then there is a different level of superstition where you think, oh, I see this 1111. Oh, it must be this 999. So the mind starts dividing reality more and more and getting itself into such a divided, split state that it just goes completely bonkers. It becomes absolutely mentally imbalanced. And that's where all our issues arise. Look at the society. Are you living in a society or in a mental asylum? My impression is I'm living in a mental asylum. And it's because there's not a single person currently, not even a child, who's absolutely balanced, whether physically, emotionally, mentally. There's not a single child, because we are already born into this perverted, fragmented reality, and no one has a power or a knowledge to tell us that this reality is not what we perceive at the moment. So we think there is a test, there is an examination, there is a next level, there is an enemy, there is a way to defend, there is a way to pursue in life, there's a way to get our all desires satisfied. Law of attraction, law of this. We don't understand the natural flow. We have to always stop the flow and draw a circle. Hey, it's a law. It's a test. It's this and it's that. Why do we need to define the flow? The flow of life cannot be defined. It can be defined, but then it becomes an absolutely perverted flow and obstructed, where we do not know who we are and we live in complete deception, self-deception, first of all. I see the question in the comments that, do events conspire against you mean that you are ripe for the test? You know, no test exists and nothing conspires. You perceive yourself in a fragmented way because whatever is coming from you, from your essence, which is conscious space. So this world and all this you see and all these people, it's your conscious space. So they are trying to show you certain things within you. Now you do not recognize it as such. You see it in a fragmented, divided way. So you see your brother, your sister, your parents, your fellow friends as either friends or enemies, either test or disturbance or irritation or joy, right? So you do not see that joy, that irritation is coming from within you, and you're just reflecting it back onto yourself. And that flow and those people and those events and those things are not tests. They're just a flow of being, which is corrupt and showing its corruption outwards. And you are simply reflecting it back to your individual mind body to learn. But it's not that you also learn. It's, we call it again as learning process, because we become more and more aware. Let's not use the word learn. Let's use the word becoming more aware. So you are becoming more aware of the self, of the subtleties of the self, where you see that all those friends, all those enemies are not friends and not enemies. They're just people who represent different qualities of your being. And you either recognize it or you antagonize with them, you go into war with them, and so on and so forth. All this craziness which is happening in the world, this mental asylum we're living in, is self-created. We support it from within. Because all these groups, you say, okay, I'm not supporting this political group, I'm supporting the other. You support one side of the madness or the other. You support them one way or the other. And this is unavoidable. As long as you live within these principles of believe, disbelieve, support, deny, accept, reject. Division, 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 multiplicity, complexity, deception. And that's all these define the essence of this current world and existence. That's all I can say. So I understand where you're coming from, because each and everyone's consciousness goes through these questions. We all wonder, is there destiny? Is there someone controlling us? Is it all a test? Are there tests on the path? The whole idea of the path, the whole idea of tests on the path, it's not that it is given so by some scientist or yogi or anyone. It is because we perceive it like this, because we have again this obscurity and misunderstanding of the existence. Once you really get to the real natural path, there is no path. There is just life and life flow, which you are, and everything within you is there, showing you about you, period. Right? Maybe wrong. It doesn't matter.